The objective of this demonstration is to show how to use data field exporters for ACT. On this version, we're using ACT version 16, but it could be used with any version of ACT post 2007. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to browse for the ACT database. So we go here, let's just take our demo, ACT 2014 demo. Click on that, and that will basically open the ACT database, and it will request for username and password. Here we don't have a username and password on this database. The second step is let's set where we're going to export the data. So let's click on browse on my computer and see, let's just create a new folder here, test export. So click here. So we can see at the top here, that's gonna be where we're gonna export the data. At this field separator, we highly recommend using the tab because it's the only separator that is properly interpreted by Excel. So we say overwrite the existing CSV files. We have that enabled. So if we re-export, all the files are overwritten. So here we got all the tables enabled to be exported. So all we have to do is click on the export button, and you'll see at the bottom it will state what it's exporting. Now it's exporting the companies, and it will go on and it will have a counter here that will say how many companies are being exported, and the company is being exported into Excel, into the files, the CSV files. So now that we have exported all the files, you'll see here, for example, we put the database name, an underscore, and then the table name that we've exported. So you can see, and that is applied throughout the whole export. So you just go here into, for example, let's go to the contacts and just double click on it, and that will open Excel, and we're using Excel 2010 as our basis to interpret this data. And voila, here we have the Excel spreadsheet that has all the data that you want to look at. A couple of things. The first line on the Excel spreadsheet has all the field labels. So there's all these labels here, and that's going to be the field labels in ACT that we've exported. There are a few field labels that are custom that we actually generate ourselves. And let's look at this field label here. And that field is called the history generated field. And what we do for the contacts, we concatenate all the history into one field. So you can just open the field, and here it is. Here's all the history for this particular contact. Another generated field is our notes field. So if you have notes on the contact, we have the notes generated field that you can actually open here, and these are the notes that you have for that particular contact. So all those are integrated into the field, and there's a couple of other ones that are generated, but these are the two primary ones. So while we're at it, let's just look at another very important field on the export, and this field is the ID. Each contact has an ID. So let's have a look. So each contact has a unique ID. So all the tables that refer to contacts will have a contact ID referring to this particular ID. So this ID is unique. So each contact has this ID. So let's look at another table and see how that is represented. So let's go back to data field exporter and look at the other tables that we have. Let's look, for example, at the history. See what history items are related to the contact and what is the linkage between the two of them. So if we double click on the history, and now we looking at the history. And what we'll see in the history, the same thing as in Excel, so it's all in table format. In history, we have each history item has a unique ID, of course, that comes from ACT. The unique ID is basically that history item's ID, and that is only related to a history item. But how does it connect to the contact? And the connection is actually done through the contact ID, and the contact ID is right here. So the contact ID is essentially the history item, the linkage to that particular contact. And you'll see there's two history items, one right after the other, that are linked to a single ACT contact. And that's the linkage. And all the other tables, you'll find a field called contact ID that is the link between this ID and the contact ID that is on the main contacts table. So just to finalize Data Fields Exporter, use Tab, use Excel to access it. If you need any kind of different delimiter, export them through Excel. If you want any fancy delimiter, Excel is a great avenue to do it. We do provide different delimiters, but if you want multi-line capabilities, use Tab and use Excel as the gateway to do that. Also, we offer the option of exporting groups, so you can select a group from the ACT database and basically just select that and then just select it and export it, and then that will export that data. This completes our demonstration on Data Fields Exporter. It's quite easy, straightforward, single click export for ACT. Thank you.